All praises to God that I'm just an instrument. This poem is entitled, "The Devil Meant It for Bad, but I'm so glad God meant it for my good." It started off with some Milwaukee's best and ended up with some crack and 3 heart attacks on the side. You would think to the average person's brain it's time to stop, but oh, not mine. I've always been one to overdo everything, from performing on stage to lying. And now it was about to overdo me because of smoking. My heart was dying. Oh, but to the best laid plans, my Father's all that matters. And it seems no matter how far apart we seem to draw ourselves, He has His own way of drawing in the scattered. You see, each of us have a purpose in God's great plan. And even though some of us are slicker and smarter than God Himself, I'm still just a man. Can you imagine that the devil has tricked the clay into believing he can make the potter do? I don't know who that person is anymore. Could it be you? Always ending up at that same junction with "I'm sorry," or worse. It's like I felt getting in that truck smoking crack and my ulcer burst. I really can't tell you what happened. I blacked out, and for a while it looked rough. I remember stumbling out the truck, falling on the ground, looking up. I remember in that same 4.5-hour ordeal, 2 of the very same people coming to me, going through my pockets. I tried to muster up, "Help me. Help me." I knew they could see my eyes didn't look right, rolling around in their sockets. They were looking for the keys to the truck so they could drive away. I tried once again to muster up, "Help me," but they said I was geeked and couldn't handle the high. They treated me like a dog and made me stay. Well, for the 2nd or 3rd time them checking me, leaving me, I remember it was drizzling rain. And although you might think that my mind was crazy, for some reason I was completely sane. I still didn't know what was happening to me, and would somebody please throw a dog a bone? I lay there on the ground for 4.5 hours by myself, but you know, I wasn't alone. Well, 4.5 hours later, the symptoms subsided. I checked the corners, got in the truck, and drove 5 blocks home. I told my girl to take the keys for the truck for the lady who owned. Well, since I had made it home safe with my sick, addicted mind, you know what I did then? I reached way back in my back pocket because I still had the stem. And since she was asleep, I didn't have to share it, so I heated it up. As soon as I inhaled it, the symptoms came back. I ran to the bathroom and blood came pouring out my... Well, I went to the bathroom about 4 more times with the same results. I'm scared. I told my girl what's happening, and she said, "You need to get some help." And I thought, but where? I don't want to go to the hospital because there I can't smoke. See? My mind told my body, "Don't you see you're dying? What about me?" Needless to say, she fed me. I took another hit and fell out, and the ambulance came and scraped me up. At this point, all hope was gone. Blood was coming out, mouth, nose, back, and front. I went to the hospital. They operated, but it didn't stick. I was in intensive care, patched up everywhere, but I didn't feel sick. At this point, I decided to be honest, so I gave the doctors my stem. I know they had to be like, "I can't believe it. Here we go again." That was on a Monday. By Wednesday, they had to go back inside. They operated, and it took, but that night, I died. I told the nurses, "I can feel it. It's happening again." Oh, man. And for 3 minutes and 25 seconds, everything went black, but he still held a hold of my hand. I didn't see any white lights, visions, or the rest. I woke up with a as the doc pressed down on my chest. Well, I had to stay there for 20 days, and they said I had to learn how to walk. They said I'd also suffered a stroke, so I'm thankful to God I didn't have to learn how to talk. They said I would receive a physical therapist to get me back and fed, but with my sick, addicted mind, all I kept thinking about were the nurses washing me up in bed. Well, 20 days later, and I left there, and once again, I headed for the hood. Not to church or to see my family, like I know I should. And you know, God didn't bring me this far and through all that just to leave me now. And as I was writing this, I couldn't help but cry. I mean, wow. It didn't click with me until writing it down, going back and rereading it again. Jesus is an awesome God and my one true friend. If it weren't for God, I know where I'd be. This much is understood. The devil meant it for bad, but I'm so glad God meant it for my good. Thank you.